What is up, people? Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Cup Chasers Daily here on the channel. Of course, I appreciate everyone being here. This is your daily dose of my thoughts on the prevailing news of the day, what topics are going around. And today I did choose to speak on David Raya and his current form and the way he's been playing and really keeping Arsenal in some of these games. He had a magnificent performance against Sporting, won the man of the match trophy. So, of course, we are pumped for that. And yeah, I think it's about time we do take a look at David Raya's contribution to this season. Of course, it is in glaring contrast to that of Kepa, but that's a pretty obvious one, of course, as he didn't do himself any favors in that Carabao Cup final. I don't think he was as bad in the Southampton game, but whatever. So go ahead and smash up the likes for the goalkeeping conversation going on around socials today. If you are new, it would be an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to welcome you to this community. So go ahead and smash up the subscribe button as well. And then, of course, I want to know your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, admonitions, dreams, hopes, darkest, deepest desires, all that good shit down in the comments section below. Is David Raya the best goalkeeper in the world right now, or are we getting a wee bit carried away? Now, of course, he is on top form. This couple of the saves, I mean, the save in the 9th minute versus Araujo, however you say his name, the left back there, who for Sporting, who was definitely involved in the game. I'm not gonna necessarily say he was amazing and or their best player, but that battle on the right hand side with Madueke and then with Dauman was very important in the game. A couple of times he got down the left behind Benny White, and it definitely caused us some issues. But that's a whole different thing, of course. And he makes the amazing save, fingertip save. Such a good save. You didn't even know he made it at first because the ball was hit with a lot of pace and fingertips get to it. Raya Spain, number 2. How can he be the best in the world? Because there's one person who makes that. Yeah, there's one person who makes that decision. There's only one person on the planet that makes that decision. And one person's opinion does not a fact or a truth make. Joan Garcia is pretty good. He definitely is pretty good. Got to be starting for Barcelona. I certainly understand that. But Barcelona, not necessarily. Well, that's not a good argument. I was going to say Barcelona don't necessarily face a high volume of shots, but I think they probably face more shots than Arsenal do, based on our defense. And that is a point to look at in this conversation. Who's the defense in front of these goalkeepers? I'll tell you right straight up that obviously Arsenal's defense is better than Barcelona's defense. I think that he's definitely, Joan Garcia is no slouch. Of course, he's no slouch. And so, that's just up to the Spain manager. I think it's definitely very close. And that's why there's a conversation going around, I think a big thing, like if you look at you can't just look at clean sheets, right? Clean sheets is not, I don't think that's necessarily a very good metric to measure goalkeepers by. Because I think it has a lot to do with volume of shots faced. For example, last season, Aaron Ramsdale actually had the highest save percentage in the Premier League, but that's because Southampton faced shot after 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 shot because they insisted on playing out from the back, and he was just getting put under so much pressure. I think that Pickford is definitely, definitely in the conversation. I mean, how can you be England's number one and not be in this conversation? I personally don't necessarily think he's the complete package. I think one thing that's always hurt Jordan Pickford is he's like a little bit shorter, but what conversely, he kind of uses that to his advantage in these kinds of conversations because Jordan Pickford is an absolute amazing shot stopper. He does some amazing things, some shots you never think he's going to get to. So I definitely think there's a conversation to be had around Pickford. He's definitely England number one for me, for my tastes. But yeah, oh yeah, for sure, SC. And I think that it might be going a bit too far, honestly, to say that David Raya is the number one. If you want to do it like literally right now, right here, right today, Courtois is actually injured. So as far as like in form, you have to make sure you put metrics and parameters around your conversation. I still personally think that Thibaut Courtois is probably just a bit better than Raya. And Manuel Neuer, he's the GOAT for me. He's an absolute legend. And you have to mention him in these kinds of conversations just because of his longevity, just because he's been doing it for so long and he's been so good for so long. And for me, Neuer was like the transition from, goalkeepers, your simple remit is shot stopping, collecting crosses, don't let the ball in. But Manuel Neuer kind of transitioned the world, the whole game into, okay, now the goalkeeper has to be able to pass it out from the back, has to be good with his feet, uh, you know. And yeah, I think it's his last season as well. I think it might be his last season as well. The man's 40 years old and he's been killing it for a long, long time. So I definitely understand that. But I definitely agree with that, SC. Definitely one of the best, one of the GOATs, for sure. I think that, today being good with your feet sometimes gets prioritized by some. If you look at the Man City goalkeeping situation for a while, Ederson was the number one because he was able to play out of the back really, really well. And then it maybe his shot stopping was amazing, but it suffered a little bit. It wasn't as good, as perhaps his best characteristic was being able to play out from the back. So when you get a hybrid like Manuel Neuer, it's that's kind of the the gold standard, you might say. And I think that David Raya has greatly improved our playing out from the back. I think that's why he came in. That's why Arteta brought him in to replace Ramsdale. And I think he's done very, very well in that regard. And especially this season, I do think David Raya deserves some recognition for sure. Some of the saves he's been making. Like if you look at the Brighton game that we won 1-0, which, could be the if you look at the table and suppose City beat Palace in their game in hand, and then let's just for argument's sake say that they'll beat us at the Etihad. I don't necessarily think that's true, but if they did and the gap goes to 3 points, you can look at some of the saves that Raya has made to keep wins over draws. When Yakoba Minte cut inside and hit that one at the Emirates, and David Raya gets his probably the save of the season, gets his fingertips to it. How many save of the season candidates has David Raya had? But also I think that when you're looking at who's the best right now, you also have to think about Donnarumma's shot stopping ability. I mean, hell, Arsenal might already have won a Champions League if not for Donnarumma in that semifinal last year. And so Donnarumma's shot stopping is incredible, of course, as well. SC says Raya's top class. Can't say he's the world best because he was a late bloomer. Pickford's been doing it for 10 years. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that I don't necessarily think Raya is the best around at the moment. I think he's in that conversation, though. And I think there definitely is, a conversation to be had around Pickford as well. I don't think just because he's at Everton and loyal to them that he's necessary. I don't think you necessarily have to be the Real Madrid goalkeeper to be the best in the world. I think that I'm very happy, honestly, that Raya is getting into these conversations and that he's getting some recognition. Yeah, I think Raya's distribution, his concentration, his he's always switched on. Ramsdale always had a shocker in him, and his kicking ability was good, but when you can improve, you should, and we did. And I think that Raya has been very, very good for Arsenal, and I think right now, I think he is a massive, massive part of our defense because there are times, especially in that Sporting game, there are times, and like you can tell, like our worst characteristic on defense is when you get us chasing back. Declan Rice has to make some kind of crazy tackle, or Gabriel has to make a last ditch tackle. When you get us running back towards the goal in transition, we can struggle. And I think David Raya has pulled our ass out of hot water a number of times in those situations, not least of all versus Sporting with the Araujo shot. And then at the end of the game, when there was that header near post, there was the shot from number 10. I could never say his name. I couldn't figure out how to say his name during the match, but the number 10 for Sporting had a snapshot late in the game near post that David Raya got down to save, and that header. And so if you really think about it, there are a number of big moments in the season that you have to. I mean, the credit for the points straight up go to David Raya making saves. And any top level team that wins trophies has always had a fantastic keeper behind them. And it's the confidence that a really good goalkeeper gives you, right? Look at Manchester United this season. You can probably go back and look at, there's stark difference between the way the defense plays with Onana behind them compared to with Lemans behind them. When Lemans came in, I don't know how to say his name either, but when he came in, that for me was the turning point for Manchester United. Even before they fired Amarim, when he came in, you could just see the confidence behind in the defenders in front of him. They were playing, a bit more assured and secure with Lemans behind them. And for me, I think part of a massive, massive part of Man U's resurgence was bringing Lemans in. And so you can see that the difference when there is a top goalkeeper back there as opposed to when Kepa is back there. And I don't have anything against Kepa. Right out the rip when we signed him, it was just another Chelsea reject for me. That kind of, I'm not a big fan of buying Chelsea rejects, but thank you, Edu Gaspar. That was his brilliant plans. But it's about having the confidence when someone's back there that has got your back, even if they get through. Keeper's number one for a reason. A poor keeper will cost your team more than any other player. Well said. Well said. I agree 100% with that. But when it comes to, who's better, who's the best, I think it's very, very fine margins. I think that there's a lot when you look at why Raya isn't the Spain number one. I think there are other, just because that's, I said in the beginning, there's one guy. But also, you have to look at the fact that I think that the manager of Spain, and I heard this take on the football terrace, and it was an interesting one. They were speaking on how in Spain, it matters that you play in Spain for the national team. If you play in Spain for one of the Spanish giants, I think that gives you maybe a leg up on keepers playing in foreign leagues. And so that might have a little bit to do with why Jean Garcia is the number one for Spain. And there's, if he is better, I obviously have not seen Barcelona week in and week out. But if he is better, then it's not by much at all. And it's fine margins when you speak on these kinds of things, when you speak on who's better, who's, got this characteristic. But for me, I think David Raya is on the rise. I think he's absolutely, in this conversation. Definitely, his recent performances have put his name forward here. And so I think that for me, it's still Courtois, even though he's hurt right now. And Lunen's not a bad backup, but I think that Madrid definitely have more confidence with Courtois in the net, and some of the stuff I've seen Courtois do over the years, and goalkeepers normally age like fine wine. Maybe not Allison. Allison's kind of like the first injury-prone goalkeeper we've ever seen, but I think that Courtois is still the number one for me. You don't want to see him between the sticks. And it took worldies to break the deadlock last season for us versus Courtois versus Real Madrid. Took absolute worldies for us to, in the free kicks to get goals against them. So, and I think in the Champions League, you cannot past his best. Yeah, he might be. He might be. I can believe that. Courtois has put in some work over the years, that's for sure. Absolutely has put in some work over the years. He's been a part of some magnificent teams. And I think that having your goalkeeper, the ability for your goalkeeper to bail you out in big, big, big Champions League games is a huge feather in the cap, is a huge, boost in these conversations for, the goalkeeper. So I also don't think that you can leave out Donnarumma from this conversation because, like I said, Arsenal would probably have played Inter last season if not for Gigi Donnarumma. We would have been in a Champions League final. And if you think about it, if you look at the year before, that save Neuer made on Saka in the quarterfinals at the end of the game. So when goalkeepers step up big in Champions League nights, massive Champions League games, these kinds of conversations begin to be had. And hopefully David Raya can make some even bigger saves for us moving forward. But yeah, as far as, best in the world, like I say, it depends on how you shape the argument, what your parameters are. But I think that Courtois maybe still just edges him. Of course, Joan Garcia has to be in the conversation, as you say, SC, because of him being in front of David Raya in the Spain team. Definitely have to have him in the conversation. And so, yeah, I think all in all, it's very close, very, very close. And if David Raya continues at this level, continues to get better, and we start winning major trophies, and then maybe he does get into the Spain team and Spain do something in the World Cup. Who knows? What's up, Lumen? Hope you're well. Thanks for always being here. But who knows? David Raya can still get better. He can still improve. Of course, he does have some some. I call them walkabouts. I call him his one a game. He's got a wild moment in him where it's heart and throat moments. But I think if he continues to improve and we continue to improve as a team and the results are there, then I think, this conversation will get even more acute and the evidence might begin to pile up, commanding his box. I don't know. I think he's pretty good in the air. I think he's pretty good again on crosses. I think that there are times in the Premier League where he can get a little bit stuck in the scrum, in the melee that happens in the 6-yard box every time. He needs to improve in supporting defenders. I'm not sure I understand that one, Prague. Um, but I think sometimes on the corner kicks in the Premier League, when there's 97 people in the 6-yard box, he can get a little bit lost. I think that, you know, it's a very specific situation where goalkeepers really, really need to have strength and be able to command the area. And now, if that's what you're talking, if that's what you're speaking on, sure, sure, I can see that. But that's difficult for any goalkeeper. That's going to be really difficult for anyone. And I think that I'm more than happy with David Raya and his performances. In such areas, I think that sometimes he does have gaff in the game, and normally we're not punished for that, and he can make up with it from other areas. But yeah, as far as who is actually the best right now, it's a fine margins, and there's definitely a conversation to be had. But as of right now, yeah, man, David Raya, he's definitely on form, definitely giving confidence to the defenders behind him. uh, you know, isn't a good coordinator with his defenders. That's an interesting one. He isn't better than Pickford. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that I think he's half decent coordinator with his defenders. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that one, Lumen, but yeah, I think all in all, I'm happy with David Raya. I don't think that he's you know necessarily in response to best in Prem. I hear what you're saying, SC. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you on that one. So, yeah, I think that coordination with defenders, that's an interesting one, Lumen. That at times, okay, I think I understand what you're saying. The times where like Gabriel versus Wolves, where he kind of goes up for the header and then Raya punches him in the head. Yeah, that was some really piss poor coordination. So I can see where that argument's coming from. And hopefully, we don't have too many more of those those crazy situations, because that was an absolute and utter embarrassment that day. And so hopefully we can avoid too many of those kinds of gaffes. But I think all in all, man, I'm chuffed, as they say. I'm more than happy with David Raya's performances this season, and I definitely think that he's got a couple more saves to make in this run in here. And I think he'll be up for the task. I think he'll definitely be up for the task. Best in the world? Not yet. Not yet for me. Probably not yet. And there's definitely lots of conversation to be had on this one. And hopefully he'll continue to improve and we can come back to this and have more conviction. If you had Raya and not Ramsdale 2 or 3 seasons ago, would have helped winning the league. Maybe. I think it's fine margins. I think it's really fine margins. We may have switched up the way we played a little bit quicker as far as dependence on passing out from the back if we had him earlier. But would we have won the league? I don't know. Really tough to say. Really tough to say on that one, Lumen. Yeah, Prague, I agree. Maybe not yet. Neuer's still better. I think Neuer's a badass. At 40 years old, that's, impressive. Impressive as it could possibly be. I definitely think Neuer's the GOAT. So, yeah, I can agree with that as well, Prague. I can definitely agree with that as well. But all in all, man, I'm more than happy to have David Raya between the sticks. I think he's doing incredible, as evidenced by the fact that this conversation is even going around socials and going around YouTube. This conversation doesn't get put forward if you're dog shit, and so I absolutely I couldn't be more happy with David Raya. And I think that while maybe he's not yet on top of the world, maybe we'll get there in a couple of months. Maybe we'll get there in a month and a half here. So anyway, yeah, that's been the Cup Chasers Daily. I certainly appreciate everyone being here. Neuer is retired from international. Yep, he sure is. He sure is. That's for sure. Yeah, maybe he will get there, Prague. Hopefully. Um, yep, I agree, SC. I agree, SC. Of course, thanks everyone for being here. Go ahead and smash up the likes on your way out. Again, I certainly appreciate it. And it does help the channel push it out to new viewers all over YouTube. Of course, if you are new, it would be an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to welcome you to this community. So make sure you are subscribed. And of course, we were unable to do the Cup Chasers podcast last night. So that will be this evening. Make sure you are locked in with that notification bell on so you know when we go live later on today for the Cup Chasers podcast. And yeah, once again, I thank everyone for being here. All of the SC, he shouldn't be in the discussion. Heard that. Yeah. Once again, thanks for everyone being here. I hope all of you are well. World best is club and international level. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I hear it. Once again, everybody, thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I'm going to sign off here. Thanks again, and you. We'll see you next time.